Open.
Open. Look. Over. What? You can never lose the sight for so long. For this to be the eyes that never been blind. Whether for the both and the ends, this to be the kings. Divine yesterday for the ever here. Here and all for the one for the bed delay. For this to be the all states, and you can find nothing else. And this to be the honor for the mimic. What you can find the alchemy for the sun. Art half. You happy for the world, for the contracted with us to be the ancient ease, and this to be the duty for the world, for the donders inside and warming up for the better center of the world. You find a spirit, and nothing's there for the sun to rise, and the alchemist, and you can find a passion holy for the mind, for the thought, the divorce, for the eye, for the bone, for the ecstasy that come to breathe alone, for the breaking of the life of the broke, seek to relieve, flaw for the life, for the love, for the grief. This is the place for the mounting and beat, for the utter fire, for the existence, for the desire of the BCs, set and thresh. I have found the unmysterious flesh to die for the minds and the substance, for the still be passionate beyond the will. I will find the beauty for the just be the relic. Speak to us to the beauty for that you can answer. Seek that for how you find it, unless to yourself for the only the God to speak your except for the weaving of the speech. Kind of gentle for this to be the walking among passionate temple. You can find the shaking of the earth beneath the sky above us. You're tired for the weary, soft for the whispers, voice of the yields, silence for the faint, life for the quivers of the fear for the shadow for the restless. And we lay all heard for the shouting of the mountains, and you can cry the king cream, same sounds of this are roaring of lions and watchmen for the city. This find the beauty of the shell rise and dawn for the noontime for the bearers to say for the scene and leaning over the winter for the you can have the spring leaping upon the hills. You can see her dancing with the autumn, sorrowful drift of snow. Things that have the same for the beauty, for the truth, and spoken not for the beat, the need, or unsatisfied, for this to be the need. For the mouth nerves and thirst, and this to be stretching forth, the empty of the breath, for the rather, for the heart be inflamed, for the soul enchanted. Imagery, you will see that for this low, long for song, or the rather for the imagery, you can find it closing out the eyes, and hear though for the shutting of your ear, for this to be within that bark, attach that for the rather, for the garden, and the rather, the moon. Flock of the angels are ever in flight. Her beauty is that for the life and the feeling in the holy face of it. You can have the life for the ever, the beauty for the beauty, for the eternity, gazing yourself in the mirror, for the you are the eternity, for the you are that mirror, of course. It was a relic. It was a tomb. It was a daring one. The following, the undeterred. For the bluebird, for the break, to the rapture, for the even and now, for the singing, for the tossing over the hymn. And you can find that for the indifference, for the boy, for the right upon the winds, and this the eternal tides, to toss gladly for the gale. And frail enough for the failing. Knows that for the breaking, the still the wings, and this the uplift for the wild you see. It was a song you didn't know the words to, for the ecstasy, for the letters to the stranger, for the who's to find, and this to the hymn, that for the hunter, for the orchard. Thinking of you for the house of work, and for the literal, for the army to preparing yourself for the bread. Like that for the rip and the spill. Unused to the metal for the wildflowers, or armor to cover for the delicate bones and half hidden over the rafters of the barn, you're leading in dips of the crippled bones, and spike that for the world, possessions are strong. Enough for the faded cross that, lips here for the honest and the wine. Scored over the body for the hand, and if for the faded after the speed afternoon for the conversing with your shadow for the breastbone for the step of the palace of the ever vein for the gilded, the father of the over the powder field for this would never be noticed, never be noticed. For knife for the breaking of the hand for the updraw. This be the delicate enough for the fracture, for the filling of the air for the rumors, and despite that all you can do for the taking over your color of your mouth for the precede that for the mothers of blood. Letting the seed pass by unnoticed and red and native. Drag that for the stinging over the hook over the water level for the places of splitting over the leaves, window for the spending of the leaves and breaking for the furniture food. You can have that reading between letters of the virgin birth until you occur. Learn enough to camouflage in yourself in church. Mastering the body for the same, for the naturally blaze your place and this will be the rolling for the altar, for the window, for the morning of the sparrows that came down. A pulsar for the leaving of the morning, for the preparing the crucifixion for the thinking of you now. I can find a silver shining over the altar. Now you focus on it. Like one of the Christ fingers of the wind, the vine of the breast, and this will be the wild and thinking of you for the white carnation dripping across your face, and this the voice across that for the voice of the confession, and you whispering over and over. I can find the letters to the stranger. The stranger.
It was a subtle approach.
It was a subtle approach. You couldn't stand a hand and find to take the hit like a roach. Went back to you can call it for the brilliant enough to be the different, corresponding to the days that you're supposed to. An opportunity it felt dizzy enough in between myself and the place to seem inseparable. Tears welled up in the eyes of the one that find desperately to flee. Get outside for the I could breathe for the one to display. Who can it have for the missing happen to be for the invited for whoops of that for the couldn't understand for the half felt for yourself for the first time. For the first time in the mind for the cross that over the years. Development for the jet speed for the arriving in the future. And future it displays in cases to fill with the for the artificial heat for the this be the thousand things that you never knew for the exist. Penelope for the who you can have the names, so this will be the gadget for every purpose, and you can find a penalty for the someone for the stone age, and to realize that for the most of the people on the planet for the never know that every. It was a subtle approach. You couldn't stand a hand and finally take the hit like a roach. Went back to you can call it for the brilliant enough to be the different, corresponding to the days that you're supposed to. An opportunity it felt dizzy enough in between myself and the place to seem inseparable. Tears welled up in the eyes of the one to find desperately to flee. Get outside for the I could breathe for the one to display. Who can they have for the business happen to be for the invited for who was that for the couldn't understand for the half felt for yourself for the first time. For the first time in the mind for the cross that over the years. Development for the jet speed for the arriving in the future. And future it displays in cases to fill with the for the artificial heat for the this be the thousand things that you never knew for the exist. Penelope for the who you can have the names, so this will be the gadget for every purpose, and you can find a penalty for the someone for the stone age, and to realize that for the most of the people on the planet for the never know that everything they're living in. More than that for the ever knows, with the quantity for the living in the matter for the galaxy all around us. Surrounds us with the complexities of the molecules, so they're there for the brains. What's that for the more than the know? There for the die without ever knowing. Felt for the terror, the die for the gloss. This will be the wax for the fruit for the propaganda, to refine that for the dilute for the excess of the strange things before my eyes and sensation. Everything that wanted to be used up and immediately. Lick, taste, new, couldn't stand that for the brilliant swarm rolls. So upon that for the distant faces staring at your cardboard box and seeing that for the nothing is single in the place. Unique for the only define a separate for the this will be the enormous of the masses texture. Sensation to begin that moving closer to imagining I can walk for this and never to eat and never the calves and cows milk for the who's and never nourish that but except for the teeth of the goat. And everything have the wildflower for the winter for the hunger for the imagination of the walking you for the salty ones. Collected water for the puppet. Your pipe and this and nose began to sleep. This and knowing it was the problem for the display. It was that for the rousing of the behind the order for the desire for the moving and closing enough to define the feeling of over through the space of Taurus or something that for the hidden. My fingertips were smooth, delicate for the obvious reason, they often enough for the artificial to be used. Thrown it away for the this to be the touch, so that you might find something for pearly for the perfect, actually plastic. They never see that for the idiocy for the idiocy. It was obviously artificial for the made to be used once and thrown away. It was the upper esh, or maybe it's that to say, for the opportunity for the gathers to every purpose of its own age and realize that most people on the planet have they developed it. And this would be the display case and feel that for understanding that you have felt yourself for the first time, but in my mind for the crossover there for the years that it was happening to me for the eye could find. Welling up in the eye for the one to find a desperate place to flee, corresponding to the days that you can find it, supposed you are made dip under the colors that you can find in the rainbow for the complexities of the molecules of your own brain. More for what you don't know, for you can find die without ever knowing for the felt. Maybe it was whack for the fruit, for the propaganda, for the you can have that for the memory of the water, for the particular sin, for the stillness, so that you can find it, but the come to go and to lose yourself with a certain change. You find it beneath that pressing, forgotten hook, sheen and salt. This is the moment. Finding something, this was never suspended for the horizon. I never slipped into the limits of the motion, listen to find it also mine. Met you, met that for the different, and wanted to be there for the long time, for this to be the hook. Impression, something strange and undeniable. Define it. You fight it for the outline, fit your body for just the making of a human form. High that for the sunlight, for the revolving branches. You have the stretching of what you can find in return. The understanding of you to be translated once and hold still. I've been in you. For the dread of it nearing at the end, for the descending towards that deep, for the big and not move, for the to be different, but why? The question still remains. It was a crippled one for the dismal. Sun rising enough to be through the windows and on through the curtains and finding emotionless and lovers in seasons to run that for the only the apprentice. Hunts the killing of the wild. And harvest that for the hours of the days and the months of the witch of the rags of the time, for the so reverent, for the so strong, and you can even think for the eclipse of the cloud that you can wink if your eyes had not been blinded by them.
Well, it's not the end. You couldn't pretend that.
Well, it's not the end. Well, it's not the end. We couldn't pretend that. I take that tone like bread for the ride through. While I'm thinking of drifting across your voice, Confessions keeps whispering you over and over for the present place. Cross that veil in black for the crucifixion you learned camouflage. Breakable for this to be the border of rereading your letter. Just below water level splitting open across each window. Last night dragged that for the man's body for taking the color of the mouth. Despite all I can do for the safe, for this will be the upright drop. Wrinkling over the hands, for this will be the what I can behave for. Thinking of a son, for this will be the slipping into the place. I heard that conversing in the shadow of the breastbone. Slipped out of that place and palace and into the vein of a gilly flower. Propped into the sun for the wild, for the leaving the worldly possessions. To the strongest watch for the empire fade across the lips of this to die. Delicate bones of you, flying bees and bone the metal for the under the rafters of the barn. Earth is taking on the terrible proportions unused for the metal for the wildflower you are. Already there for preparing you the bread. Thinking of you for what was misled and said. I can dedicate one memory to the piercing of the body. Snow is dust over the branches and luncheon over the orchard. This is uncounted for the pieces are already preparing like wine. Rather but not you can wine. Find after the glimmer of the lovers. He was the love letters to the drunk in the morning, and then I stretched that for the marvelous laughter, for the poison the vein. Restore the old discord, deserving these torments, and forever for the created by the body and soul, for the promising you could bury that good and evil in the shade. We might bring forth our very pure love at the beginning with a certain disgust, and this is the end since we're able to grasp the eternity at once, and the panic for the rider perfume for the you have the offering. Memory of the you keep you awake. Began in all lives and enough for the ending in the more the angels of flame. The little Eve of the drunken is holy with her over the mask and you can gratify us. We don't forget that yesterday, for this is only the age and we pay faith to poison. We know how to give our whole lives every day for the behold the times of the assassins. This is the pure love that began for the certain disgust and ending. But it's not the end. We couldn't pretend that. I take that tone like bread for the ride through. While I'm thinking of drifting across your voice, Confessions keeps whispering you over and over for the present place. Cross that veil in black, crucifixion you learned camouflage. Breakable for this to be the border of rereading your letter. Just below water level splitting open across each window. Last night dragged that for the man's body for taking the color of your mouth. Despite all I can do for the safe, this would be the upright drop. Wrinkling over the hands, this would be what I can behave. Thinking of a something, this would be the slipping into the place. I heard that conversing in the shadow with the breastbone. Slipped out of that place and paddled into the vein of a hidden flower. Cropped in to the sun for the wild, for the leaving the world in possession. To the strongest watch of the empire fade across the lips of this die. Delicate bones of you flying bees and bone the metal for the under the rafters of the barn. Earth is taking on the terrible proportions unused for the metal of the wildflower you are. Already there for preparing bread. Thinking of you for what was misled and said. I can dedicate one memory to the piercing of the body. Snow is dust over the branches and lunch over the orchard. This is unkind of the pieces are already preparing like wine. Breath but not wine. Fine after the splendor of love. Here's the love letters of the drunk in the morning with the eye stretched out for the marvelous life through the poison of vein. Restore the old discord. These urban, these torments, forever for the created by the body and soul for the promise of you to bury that good need in the shade. I bring forth our very pure love and begin with a certain disgust. This is indecisible with the graphic eternity at once independent from the right of perfume. So you have the memory of you keep you awake. Began in all lives and enough for the ending of all the ancient flame. Little Eve of the drunken is holy, put her over the mask and you can gratify us. But it's not the end. I couldn't pretend that. I take that tone like bread for rice. While I'm thinking of drifting across your voice. Confessions keeps whispering over and over the present place. Cross that veil in black for the crucifixion we learned camouflage. Breakable for this water rereading your letter. Just below water level, swinging open across each window. Last night dragged that for the man's body, taking the color from the mouth. Despite all I can do to save this will be the upright drop. Wrinkling over the hands of this people I can behave from thinking of a sense this is slipping into the place. I heard that conversing in the shadow of the breastbone. Slipped out of that place and paddled into the vein of a hidden flower. Dropped into the sun for the wild, for the leaving the world in possession. To the strongest watch of the empire fade across the lips of the sky. Delicate bones of you flying bees and bone the metal for the rafters of the barn. Earth is taking on the terrible proportions unused with the metal of the wildflower you are. Already there for preparing the bread. Thinking of you for what was misled and said. I can dedicate one memory to the piercing of the body. Snow is dust over the branches and punching over the orchard. This is unkind of the pieces are already preparing like wine. Rather than not human wine. Fine after the love. He was the love letter from the drunk in the morning with the eye stretched out for the marvelous life of the poison of vein. Restore the old discord. Serving these torments forever for the created by the body and soul for the promise that you can bury that good and evil in the shade. Might bring forth our very pure love and began with a certain disgust of this indecision we're able to grasp the eternity at once independent from the right of perfume. You have the memory of the keep you awake. Began in all lives and enough to ending them on the ancient flame. Little Eve of the drunken is holy, but her over the mask and you can gratify us. We don't forget that yesterday, for this is only the age we've hate faith and poison. We know how to give our whole lives every day for the behold the times of assassins. This is the pure love that began with a certain disgust and ending.
Uma casinha feita à mão, uma floresta onde eu possa cantar o que eu quiser e andar de pé no chão. Garganta que ansio mojar.